Hello and good evening to Edukemy's YouTube channel. My name is Harsh Singh and in this video we shall discuss the current affairs and gazette for 16 December 2021. Before we begin this conversation, there is already a conversation going on. I would like to welcome Anonymous, Amlan, Sam, Kriti, Netra, Ashish, Bhabani, and we also have Abhinav, Aditya. Good evening to you all. All right, we also have Neha. Good evening. The conversation is about NFHS 5, right? So you mentioned some of the points about the good things that happened in NFHS 5 and also some issues. Now regarding the when you're mentioning that there have been some issues about poor performance of women and child nutrition, that is absolutely true. 67% of the health, absolutely, that's the right point. There are some things that you've mentioned that I doubt. That is, just reading the chats. High levels of stunting. Yes, stunting or wasting or not. The PIB had provided the data. We had also shared on one of the videos. We will just get back and I'll in the next video I'll follow up and I'll let you know. Good evening, Astha. Good evening, Preeti. So let's begin the conversation for today. I hope you guys are there with me. Are you able to follow? Just type a yes and we begin. So we begin the conversation here. Today on Gazette we have some important articles that are important. So first one is the sugar subsidies that WTO has questioned that India is providing, and what is the counter to it, how India is trying to manage the situation then. HSN codes, harmonized system for import and export of items, and what is the issue with GST rates. The third one is zero budget natural farming. The government has again now promoted ZBNF, but there could be some issues regarding that same thing. So we will understand each of these articles in focus, and then this day in history dedicated to Vijay Diwas. This is not Kargil Vijay Diwas, this is the Vijay Diwas over Pakistan in 1971 war, the war which went on for 13 days and India came out winning out of it, right? So all right guys, let's continue. Rajput, good evening to you also. Feature news for today is on semiconductor and display manufacturing ecosystem in our country. India has now committed 77,000 crore rupees to this industry in the coming few years. This amounts to more than $11 billion, around $11 billion. And this is sufficient for India to initiate an industry in itself. We will understand what is the need for semiconductor industry in India. We will also understand what are the current issues and way forward. So this is a feature news. We have explained this innumerable times in the editorials, but why a feature news? Because this is an important update, 77,000 crore rupees by the government. Image of the day is on another entity which has been a part of UNESCO's Intangible Cultural Heritage of India, right? Now Durga Puja is also Intangible Cultural Heritage of India. In one of the videos very early, I think it was in June or July, I had shared all the intangible cultural heritage of India. There are 13 or 14 of them, and it is very much possible sometimes they will ask for this, right? So one of them is Buddhist chant, and then we also have intangible. See, intangible chanting is one of them. Then we also have things like yoga. All these things are included, and this is important, right? Only 13, 14 of them. We keep on noting the places of importance regarding physical and natural landscape. These intangible heritage also could be point of question. I will share this list the next time. Terms and concepts that we discussed today: National Livestock Mission, now reinitiated again. Leprosy Eradication Program. Name one person who has worked enormously towards leprosy eradication in India. One man, just one name. Global Gateway. Regarding which country, which part of the world are we talking of when we speak of Global Gateway? Important term. The fourth one is Supersonic Missile Assisted Torpedo System, right? So 4 terms for today. Then 3 editorials that we discuss. They are one on India-Vietnam relationship, 50 years of relationship. Now it is not just India-Bangladesh friendship and formation for 50 years, not just India-Russia, but also India-Vietnam relationship. So no wonder if a question on India-Vietnam relationship comes into the examination sometime soon. The second one is on price of food versus MSP. What is more important? We will understand. The third one is about rights and duties. This was a part of the debate that came up during the Constitution Day conversations and speeches. Today's case study is on a very important thing that is happening at Kochi airport. We will understand what is happening here. Right? So let's begin the conversation. The first snapshot, Mother Teresa. Okay. Hi Kriti, good evening. Amlan says Mother Teresa. I would like to say Mother Teresa worked at various places. Yes, she was aiding people at various levels. The person who worked a lot as far as the leprosy issue is concerned is, fill in the blank. Fill in the blank. Yes, Ashish, Baba Amte. Right? All right. The first snapshot that we cover, important update for UPSC, is the WTO's ruling on India's sugar subsidy. India has been providing subsidy, input subsidy, right? So input subsidy has been provided for various agricultural products, be it wheat, rice, various other input subsidies, fertilizer subsidy, and then we have electricity subsidy, water subsidy. So many input subsidies are provided, and most of the items that we create here, the agricultural crops and production, they also go out of India, they get exported as well. And WTO has a norm. It says that 10% of the total value of what we produce, 10% of the total value, suppose we produce for 1 lakh rupees, suppose. So 10,000 rupees, maximum amount of subsidy that we can provide for those items is 10,000 rupees and not more than that. If we provide more subsidy, that means that we are distorting international trade, under quotes, distorting international trade. And this is not acceptable to WTO or its members. They want trade promotion. They want lesser international rates, right? So if we provide this kind of subsidy, this is against WTO norms, and WTO has now raised these issues against the sugar industry of India. We have explained the complete sugar supply chain in one featured news called as Fair and Remunerative Pricing, FRP. FRP. Fair, just like we have MSP for the traditional crops, we have FRP for sugarcane, sugar industry. So in that we have explained the complete supply chain of how sugar gets formed. Does it need to go to ethanol economy? How are the farmers, getting this, indulging in the problem? What is the issue with the mill? Sugar mill owners. So please refer to that feature news for complete understanding of sugar industry. Meanwhile, let us just quickly understand what is the issue with the sugar export. Now, the government says, first of all, there were allegations. There were allegations at WTO by Australia, Brazil, Guatemala, and a few more countries, right? So Australia, EU, Thailand, they all started consulting, saying that India is not doing well here. So the WTO committee came to the conclusion that one, India is providing subsidy in excess of the permitted level of 10%. This is one. Then they said India is providing this kind of export subsidy so that it increases the export performance of the country. It is not about having, see, the pretext of India saying that we provide more than 10% subsidy is that we have poor farmers. We have to have some kind of, spare also, spare food grain and spare food items for the people as well. So this is the kind of pretext that India says that India needs to give subsidy, and that is the reason that there was a peace clause for developing countries. Peace clause was agreed upon, and it said that yes, they can have more subsidies given in some specific food products, right? So when you are still exporting these kind of food products under export driven targets, this is what WTO says is not done. Similar was the case with PLI schemes, right? So India had to curtail boasting about PLI schemes, that we are increasing our production and then we are linking it to incentives for exports. So you cannot give export incentives so that you export agricultural products. This is what the WTO has said, and it is very much justified, right? So India must conform. This is what WTO has come to a conclusion about. How has India responded? India has said that firstly, the government is not giving any kind of subsidy. It is only suggested by the government, right? So SAP, state advised price, which is little higher than the FRP, it is given by the states. The price is suggested by the states, and it is given by these sugar mill owners. So this is private. This is not what we are giving. It is only recommendation in nature. So this is one thing that India has said. Now, even despite, if India has to follow these norms or if the other countries stop importing the sugar, right, what will happen? So the thing is that Brazil, another exporter of sugar, now this Brazil production here is not happening very well this year, because of which India's productions are already in a fixed kind of contract with the other countries, and India can still go on to export even if the subsidies are not provided. So India's exports are secure for this year and the coming year. This is a good update for India, right? So India has defended, but India still is in a sweet position because Brazil is not doing well this year in the coming year as far as sugar export is concerned. You should also know a couple of things about WTO, right? So this was AOA, Agreement on Agriculture, under which the peace clause was formed. This is one thing about this peace clause subsidies. The other important thing is that there are 3 boxes: green, blue and amber box. Now, items which do not produce any kind of international trade distortion, they are placed under green box, right? So no trade distortion, green box. Amber is for the trade distortion items which are challenged, which have to be made, in which improvement have to be made. And blue box are those where development programs are running. For example, India's peace clause items in agriculture, they are placed under blue box subsidy, right? So they may be slightly trade distorting, but since they are development program, they are under the WTO norms. So this is the first update, sugar industry, right? Do put it as an update. The sugar industry complete article is the featured news. This could be an update of that. All right. The second snapshot for today is on HSN codes and GST rates. GST rates are the tariff that the government imposes, goods and services tax, after we import the product and then if it has to be used by consumer. And HSN is the harmonized system of nomenclature of all the items that we import and export. This is an international system which has been initiated by World Custom Organization. So if we are importing or exporting any product, for example, coconut water. So this will be placed under a standard nomenclature so that all the countries have the same nomenclature, a 6-digit nomenclature. It will be placed upon that and all the countries have the same nomenclature. Now, if there is a nomenclature for import export which has been standardized for all the countries, should that same nomenclature exist within India also? Not sure. Why? Because see, international nomenclature could be based on specific set of norms, one set of norms, but the same set of norms may not be applicable in India. If we are, suppose, if coconut, tires, electronics, if suppose all of them are in the same category of the 6-digit code, right? 6-digit code. So first 4 digits may be same, and then second 2 digits will be different for different items. And another sequence of digits will be 5555 and then 1221 like this. So this is a different nomenclature and this is a different nomenclature. If we are importing coconut water, tires and electronic goods, all of them under this nomenclature, what India is doing that India is charging same GST rates from all of this because this was under the same nomenclature. Now this is not an agreement because for the consumers, because consumers say these are different items, tax them differently. So because of this, there have been lot of tax issues, right? There are tax disputes in India because of this dyssynchrony in harmonized system of nomenclature. That is why it is in use, right? So do remember HSN, harmonized system of nomenclature, and why it is in use, because the international nomenclature and the Indian nomenclature, they are being treated at par, and the taxation also is happening accordingly. The taxation should be different, and internally there should be different nomenclature dependent on the kind of item it is, right? Consumer also has a right to talk about it. So in case the GST charges rate are higher, then there will be lesser orders. In case the charges are lesser, then tax recovery will not happen. So why not have them placed under different nomenclature when we are talking about the the Indian sale, Indian supplies, Indian sale, right? I hope you got this. So wrong classification of export imports, denial of incentives as well to people. Hope you understood the second one. The third snapshot is on zero budget natural farming. Some of you had rightly asked me the question, What is the difference between ZBNF and organic farming? If you guys remember, there was a question that you had asked, and I encourage you people asking questions, because what you ask, most probably intuitively, that is some aspect that UPSC also might look at. And they are very, very distinctive. They have similar objectives, but their process is quite different. I had also explained the answer to this. The answer to zero budget natural farming is in the word itself. Zero budget, that means we are not going to put anything from outside, right? All that will be utilized will be agricultural input only, agriculture or agriculture allied thing. Okay. The second one is natural farming. It will be natural only, no artificial farming, no artificial fertilizers. This is the first thing. For organic, the input has to be organic. That is what it means. No artificial inputs, no pesticides and no chemicals, but inputs have to be put. And in this case, inputs have to be only zero budget. That means inputs have to be nature products. So you can have cow dung cakes, cow dung. We can have inputs from air, water. We can have mulching. So these are the kind of inputs we talk at when we speak of zero budget natural farming. We are also speaking of things like cow urine. Cow urine. Not only that, there are other inputs, for example, earthworms. So these are the natural inputs that are getting into zero budget natural farming. But in organic farming, there will be intensive inputs. Inputs will also be used from other places and they'll be brought to this place, right? Whereas in zero budget natural farming, the inputs will be, they'll be garnered and they'll be capitalized only from the surrounding areas. No far-flung areas inputs will be brought into a different place. It has to be zero budget. That is the prime objective. So this is more sustainable. Zero budget is more sustainable, and organic farming definitely will be costlier. Sikkim was the first state to be declared as a state which is completely dependent on natural organic farming. Sri Lanka, lately Sri Lanka, just a week back, 10 days back, 15 days back, Sri Lanka had to reverse its policy of converting the whole nation into an organic country. It had to reverse because it was untenable, it was unsustainable for the country. This is where this debate has already come up. On one hand, the Prime Minister and the government is focusing on zero budget natural farming. On the other, it is also said that it might not provide that kind of productivity that we are looking for in the immediate run. So this is the issue in short, but let us quickly understand a little more about it. So this is chemical free. Zero budget is chemical free, rising cost of inputs. This is why we are looking at zero budget natural farming. There is indebtedness, there is suicide amongst farmers. So let us not look at organic farming. Let us not even try to give any kind of inputs. So this will be even better. But can we do that? This is what, this is where they say that yes, there are products like Jeev Mitra. Jeev Mitra. These are the examples you will be putting. Just some time back when I was conversing with you guys, you were saying these terms याद नहीं रहता है भाई यही याद करना है इतना ही तो याद करना है इतना ही लिखना है rest of the story you are cooking up in the conversations itself. So what you are cooking up is not to be written. What is to be written is Jeev Mitra. What is to be written is Bij Mitra. These are the words that you will write that not a lot of people would know, but they'll be bang on the spot. Fermented microbial culture, microorganisms, they have to be used in zero budget natural farming. See, not everybody will tell you how to write answers. It's a very tedious technical process, but while we do this, this is the output. No, the output is what you're going to produce out of it, not the conversations that we are having. So Jeev Mitra, Bij Mitra, this is what they say is the output of zero budget natural farming, and this is good. And this discourages intensive irrigation. This reduces the input cost also. So it is very, very beneficial. Yes, at the face value, it seems like that. A lot of input, 70% of the agricultural household spends more than they earn. They spend more than in the input than they earn. This is why the disincentive to people. So let us focus on zero budget natural farming. This is one side of the story. The other side says that if you do this, there are a lot of concerns also. Example is their returns will drop. A lot of farmers have seen this, that the returns that zero budget natural farming it gives, it drops. In fact, people expect that the productivity will also rise steeply suddenly. It will not rise. People say that it will take 5-6 years for it to become for the land also, for the soil also to gain understanding of the changes that have happened because of zero budget natural farming. And after 5-6 years, then the productivity might rise a little, right? So this is one issue. And at places where intensive agriculture is being done, so much of input, fertilizer and pesticides is input, and it is giving good productivity. Do we expect that kind of productivity? No, we do not expect if we do not provide these kind of inputs. So suddenly changing every stream of green revolution into zero budget natural farming, this is very, very harmful. Sikkim is a good example, right? It is not very, very tenable. Sri Lanka is a very good example. It had to reverse back its trends completely. Although Sikkim did not have to, but Sri Lanka had to. So this is how you can, understand both the sides of zero budget natural farming. Put this, please put this, just the keywords are important and this becomes important. This day in history dedicated to Vijay Diwas, also called as Vijay Diwas in Bangla. A lot of Pakistani soldiers were captured as prisoners of war and they were sent back to Pakistan, West Pakistan. This was also the time which was a liberation day for Bangladesh, assisted by India. So that is why this day in history dedicated to Vijay Diwas. India is celebrating this, right? It has been how many years? 50 years of it now. 50 years. So again, a significant achievement. Feature news for the day. In the next video, it is on semiconductor industry growth in our country. So what is the real significance of semiconductor industry? What is the landscape in India? Concerns in India? We will understand this in totality, right? Image of the day on the intangible cultural heritage of our country. Intangible. See, this is something that we cannot touch yet it becomes a part of our culture. Very important. So certain entities that we follow, certain languages that we follow, certain habits or culture that we follow, they become a part of the UNESCO intangible cultural heritage of our country. How many are there? Now we have had a total of 13 to 14. Yes, 14 of them now. And the latest entrant in this sequence is Durga, Puja in Kolkata. UNESCO has appreciated very well the participation of women in the marginalized sections in this celebration. And this celebration becomes the intangible cultural heritage of our country. 14 of them, I will definitely mention all of them so that you are able to pick it up. Kumbh Mela, see, is one of them. All right, what do we have in terms? Today we have National Livestock Mission. This was launched earlier, 2014, and India has a very good sizable population of livestock around the world. And this is more than 500 million, right? More than 50 crore of livestock we have. And what is required is to increase the quantitative and qualitative quality of the livestock production in our country, right? So employment generation, increase in per animal productivity, fodder processing units, risk management measures, realigning the schemes for employment generation. So this is the main objective of this scheme, National Livestock Mission, right? 14, Ravi says 14, absolutely correct. 14 is the number. Ashish, were Sri Lankan farmers into zero budget natural farming or organic? I think it was organic. I beg your pardon, it was organic farming. Thank you. But see, organic state also is so difficult. Zero budget is even more difficult. So that again is an example, right? Okay, National Leprosy Eradication Program, right? So Baba Amte, a very good case for all of us to understand. He worked tirelessly towards the leprosy eradication from India, yet it did not get eradicated from all the districts. The aim has been to eradicate it from all the districts by the year 2030, eliminating leprosy from each district by the timeline 2030, right? So early detection of it and then treatment, right, through ASHA workers, disability prevention and medical rehabilitation. These are the things. India has achieved elimination of leprosy at the public health as a public health problem because we have had less than one case in 10,000 population. This is important to understand. Just note down that India has already achieved leprosy as elimination of leprosy as public health problem, but we are targeting elimination of leprosy from every district by 2030, right? So this is an update here. Global Gateway, none of you responded back saying it was European Union's program. This is going to counter what China has. BRI, European Union is looking at spending huge amount of money, $300 billion plus, not dollars, euros plus. So this amounts to around $340 billion. This is a huge sum of money and it is trying to counter what China is doing, building infrastructure around the European economy, Arab economy, and then Southeast Asian and South Asian economy. See, and this is how they are trying to outreach the population towards the East Asia, right? See, why everybody is focusing on Asia Pacific region, this particular region? This is because there is 60% of population of the world surviving at this place, 60% of GDP, 50% of trade of the whole world is happening here. So many mineral resources, countries like China, India, Southeast Asia, all of them present here. All the other places, not that they are not consumers and not that they are not producers, but they are the traditional regions, North America, South America, Europe, traditional places. And therefore, the market is already mature here. There is less margin for profits. We all know what is the product that people consume here. There is a huge margin for people to consume these products in Southeast Asia, South Asia, Asia Pacific. And that is why all these new programs, even African programs, Middle East programs, European programs, Asian programs, all of them have an Asia Pacific center on focus. So do remember the global gateway. The fourth is supersonic missile assisted torpedo system. So what is a torpedo system? What we usually understand with a torpedo is a missile that has been launched by a submarine, right? So a very silent missile which has been launched by a submarine. Torpedoes are self-propelled weapons. Now this torpedo, which has been recently researched upon by India itself, so this will be fired by a ship, right, aerial, and then it will get inside water, and after that it will move ahead. Its range is 500 kilometers plus. You can imagine this is the system called as smart system, supersonic missile assisted torpedo, right? So put this as an example, or when people ask what is a smart system related to weaponry, so this is a torpedo, right, under or on the surface of water. Editorials that we discussed today, so let us quickly go to them. All right, the first one is the Vietnam-India friendship. Before proceeding into what is the part of the article, let me show you the trade relation, because if the countries are trading, no matter whatever their relationships, that means there is some prosperity between the nations. Even considering India-China relationship, people say two-front war, and there are issues, but see the amount of prospering trade, almost $100 billion between the countries, $60-70 billion. This is a huge amount of trade, right? Same with USA and China. So let us understand the relationship that these two countries have with the trade that they have. So $10 billion to $13 to $12 billion because of 2019-20. They have targeted $15 billion of trade in the coming time, right? In the coming next couple of years. But see, the trade is only increasing. When you consider the trade with ASEAN, Vietnam becomes an important partner. Why? Because what we export from Vietnam to India are mobile phones, electronic components, machinery, computer, natural rubber, chemical, and coffee. And what we export to them are meat product, fisheries, corn, steel, pharmaceutical, cotton, machinery, IT goods, defense products. See? You should note one thing here. When we talk about semiconductors, see, Vietnam is a part of the semiconductor supply chain. Mobile phones, electronic components, machine, computer technology. Why so? Because it is linked with Chinese economy. So do note this part and speciality, but yes, you should know about the trade linkage between both the countries. This is only increasing. And yes, India has a trade imbalance, trade deficit with Vietnam, a small one though. So let us understand what is the strengthening of India-Vietnam relationship we are talking of. One of the most powerful persons, who is the chairperson of the National Council of Vietnam, they are visiting India, and this will be 50 years of India-Vietnam relationships, diplomatic ties, and 5 years of comprehensive strategic partnership. They have converging issues. One important geopolitical issue is the way China is treating Vietnam and the way China treats India. They both converge at this. And for the same reason, they have initiated defense partnership also. For example, high-speed guard boat. See, this is a good thing to mention. So India can participate by giving these high-speed guard boats to all the countries which need them, Maldives included, Sri Lanka included. Defense industry cooperation, quick impact projects. India tries to build these kind of projects in many countries which cost less and which have immediate effect, welfare effect amongst the population. Another keyword, just like high-speed guard boats, quick impact projects. India is running there already. Clean energy programs, nuclear, medical sector, exercise, PASEX is what they held in South China Sea region. So this is what India has already done. What India can also do is provide them BrahMos missile. Just like China passes on their aircraft, their missile system to Pakistan, cannot we provide BrahMos missile to Vietnam? Yes, we can. What about Akash? All these developments, the smart missile, why not to them as well? Yes, we can do that, but India is very cautious about this because India has not only trade deficit, India also gets subjugated by China. So India thinks twice before doing things like this, but China does not. So these two countries are promoting various things. For example, promoting peace. There are many other ways they can cooperate. One is peace. So when we talk of defining terrorism, Vietnam is always in support of India of how terrorism should be defined under United Nations. Prosperity. They talk about people to people contact. They talk about working towards clean energy, right? Defense pacts, expanding the Mekong Ganga quick impact projects. So all these things you must mention, and as a part of it, the $15 billion trade that we are hoping for, right? So this is India-Vietnam relationship. The next editorial is the discussion on food. The food prices in India have gone up 50% from the times of independence, 50%. And this is very much contrary to what happens in the development life cycle of any country. When any country develops, if you look at the way it develops, for example, India's agriculture proportion of the GDP is what? Agriculture and allied, they contribute to around 20% of the GDP. Note this down, around 20% agriculture. And then we have industry sector and then we have a service sector. Service sector contributes around 55%. And the rest of it, that is around 25%, is contributed by industry sector, right? And in this, manufacturing component is around 16%, 15%. Please, this is very important to analyze, and we are not only discussing this particular thing, you will understand a lot of things through these data. Now, a developed economy has a very small proportion of agriculture as far as its proportion in GDP is concerned. So USA, UK, European Union economies, they all have 2 to 5% of agriculture share in GDP. India has 20%. And when India also develops, its share in GDP, agriculture share in GDP is bound to drop. Its share of people employed also will drop. Right now, there are around 45% people employed in agriculture, and rest of the population is equally distributed into service and industry sector. You should note this down as well. So this population will also come down with time because everything will get mechanized. You know what is happening in India? In India, what is happening is that the food prices are still going up. Why is it so? 50% rise in the food prices after independence. Relative rise, price rise will be there, but relative rise in price of food should not be there. It should be a small part of GDP. There should be other products, expansion of products, proliferation of different kind of products and services. This is a matter of concern. This is where the editorial says, when we look at reforming the food sector, food industry, agriculture sector, the government focuses on two things, MSP and subsidy. More the subsidy, happier the people. More the MSP, happier the agricultural community. But this is not so. We have to also look at the cost of food items. The cost of food items, because the cost of rice, the cost of wheat is not the only food item that we consume. We consume a lot more than that. And therefore, if we do not provide this subsidy in cost of other food items, or if we do not ensure that these prices drop, then people have to spend more money from their pocket. And when they spend more money, the savings will be less. And this is a proper conducted research 200 years back as well, that if savings are less, people will not be investing in manufacturing products or purchasing manufactured products or service sector industry. And this is what is happening in India. If you look at Make in India scheme, you should remember the three important pillars of Make in India. Anybody will ask you, we have discussed Digital India quite a few times. We have discussed MSMEs. No, remember 10-30-50 formula for MSMEs. So Make in India wanted 10 crore additional employment. It wanted to increase the proportion of manufacturing GDP to 25%, and it wanted to ensure that 12 to 14% of growth is there in the manufacturing sector, specifically manufacturing sector of the industry sector. Because service sector is doing well, manufacturing has to take the rest of the load. But people are not able to participate in manufacturing sector because they don't have savings. They are not able to buy products. So we have to ensure that while the government bargains with farmers over MSP, legalizing MSP or giving more subsidies, the food cost does not rise for the common man. Because it is not only the agriculturalist interest, it is also the interest of the poor people that must be taken into account. See, so China See, over 30% is the spending in India on food items, which is less than 10% in US and UK and around 20% in China. See, this is the kind of difference that we are talking of. It does not only impact health. When people do not get to eat nutritious food, it does not only impact health, it also impacts the economy. So there is an interrelation when we talk of the impact of high food prices on the industry sector also. This is something that people might not usually talk of, but see, there's a very, very vital linkage. And 200 years back, it was found in UK as well. In UK as well, there was a corn industry and the rates of corn were going very high because of the poor quality of the real estate. Because of poor quality of real estate, the cost of corn was high. And because the cost was high, the investment in other sectors was not happening. So this was a research conducted by economist Ricardo. Same thing happening to India as well. The third one is false conflation between duties and rights. This was a conversation. Ashish says, sir, please repeat the third pillar of Make in India. See, there are three pillars of Make in India scheme. Make in India. See, you should write this down, because wherever you talk about industry sector development, in developments in India and economy of India, Make in India is one of the pillars for the country. So Make in India said 10 crore in 2014 when they launched the scheme, 10 crores additional employment amongst people. Along with that, they said two more things. There is a manufacturing sector inside the industry sector. Manufacturing. Industry is a bigger term. Inside that, manufacturing sector is a small part. And there are other sectors as well. And after that, it forms the industry sector. If we increase the participation of manufacturing sector, this is not the real estate sector, this is not the construction sector we are talking of, only manufacturing of the important devices, gadgets, capital goods. So increasing this proportion of manufacturing sector, in the first one was 12 to 14% of growth rate in manufacturing sector. This is one. And the second one was the manufacturing sector to contribute to 25% of the GDP, 25% of the GDP. So this is the formula for Make in India. Similarly, Digital India. There are three important pillars for Digital India. Should remember always. What are they? Infrastructure creation, then providing of e-governance services. This is second one. And the third one is literacy, digital literacy. So these are the three key pillars of Digital India. Similarly, MSMEs, there are three pillars for it, right? So the first one, whenever you talk about MSMEs, there are three data that you have to present: 50, 30 and 10. 10 crore of employment in India, 50% of exports and 30% of the GDP. See, these are the stats that you should always remember. This is what is called as note making and memorizing, right? The third editorial talks about duties and rights. This is what the toppers do. I am just telling the secret. Whether you are lethargic, that's your limitation and your potential. I'll be straight here. All right. So we are talking about duties and rights here. This is a part of the debate that happened in the parliament on the Constitution Day. So many of the parliamentarians, they said that we must also ensure that there must be a concomitant participation in duties if people want to avail rights. People must be duty bound if they want to avail rights. The author of this article says, no, this is not correct. The context, the times when fundamental rights were, fundamental duties were put on, they were the times of emergency, right? So Swaran Singh Committee was instituted during those times, and Article 51A, 42nd Constitutional Amendment was introduced, because of which we had the fundamental duties placed in the Constitution. Now, these duties are not bound to an individual. They should be doing it, but this is not bound to people. So when you look at a right, a right for a person to speak freely, if they have right, the government is duty bound to ensure that those conditions are met for them, right? So the government is bound. Similarly, when we provide a right to life and liberty, so the government is bound to create these conditions for optimal survival of the human being or their liberty, personal liberty at the front, right? So this is what the government must do. Government is obligated. It is not that the government should bind people. People should have duties, but they need not necessarily be concomitant. Concomitant का मतलब कि right तभी मिलेगा जब आप duty करेंगे. नहीं, it is not a dictatorial economy, right? So instead of debating on the fact the essence of this editorial is that instead of debating on the fact that how government should provide for the people, the government is debating on what people must do. So this is the essence of a huge long editorial. This was funny. Criticizing the conversations happening in parliament. All right. I mentioned all the pillars again, right? Okay, case study of the day is on a sustainable model for the consumer resources, right? So we are talking of Cochin Airport. It was in news just a few days back. We discussed one of the cases of Cochin industry as well, right? If you like this initiative, do share some love through likes, because immediately after you guys log off and there are few likes, these are lesser blessings for me. I know each of you count 1,000 persons. One person is equivalent to 1,000, but still your likes will matter to me. Your comments will matter to me. So people watching offline as well, do share some love through likes, comments and shares. Now, this is the case of Cochin Airport, which has not only become one of the most advanced airports with the solar surplus energy here, but it is also initiated an agrivoltaic farm. Now, a very beautiful case of this place. If we are placing a farm industry below the agricultural, below these solar photovoltaic cell, we are also ensuring that there is the optimal growth of the agriculture below the solar photovoltaic cells. These solar photovoltaic cells, they will not only be able to provide the energy to airport, this will also provide energy for extraction of water. Do you remember Kusum scheme? So Kusum scheme could help in providing the water for these agricultural activities. The shade will ensure that there is less evaporation of water, less transpiration. See, so multiple benefits. It is noteworthy that in an airspace, in an airport area, one cannot construct taller buildings, and that is why these areas are left free. If we have solar energy, if we have agriculture industry, both of them working here, this is a system, this is an integration of services that we provide. See, so the microclimate will be well managed, right? Combining the food production and energy here. This will be also used to irrigate the crops, right? The erosion of soil at this places, local ecosystem won't happen. What a beneficial model. So this is a very good model, a great case study. You should be able to utilize this. Just remember 3-4 keywords, no? Cochin, irrigate the crops, so solar photovoltaic cell, microclimate, right? And then also providing irrigation. That is all your answer. Dust load will get decreased and erosion will not happen. That is it. So this is our world, a common world. Everybody should feel a common responsibility for this world. And yeah, we know that. That is why we are responsible and we are preparing for UPSC exam. Is it not true? If it is true, then we will meet again in the next video. That is on the semiconductor industry growth in India. That is the featured news for today, right? So guys, if you have questions, doubts, please put them down. Let me look into the fact if there are something that you have said. All right, it's all covered. So we will see you in the next video immediately right now, right? So please join me in the other video on feature news. Thank you for watching.